This is activity 13-1, gauge glasses. Now, I'll leave it to you guys to read through all this. What they're going to do is they're going to give us a overall length of the gauge glasses, and they're going to have some okay, start over again. Wow. Okay, let's talk about activity 13-1, the gauge glasses. Now, what this homework's all about is trying to figure out which valves need to be used in a particular situation. For a connection dimension of 23.5 inches, answer the following question. And what they're saying is that from there to there is 23.5 inches. We're going to put a gauge over here, which one we can use. And do we need to downward offset this one and upward offset this one, or can we use a no offset, or do we have to offset it the other direction? So what you're going to need to do is go back to the table, and we're going to look for one that matches. So these offsets have values, and it's each one is 1 3/4 inches. So this is 1 3/4 inches here. So we can offset it up or down 1 3/4 inches, and of course the total offset would be twice that if we used one for up here and one for down here. Alright, so 23.5 inches, and I'm just going to look through my table and I see one that's exactly 23.5 inches. So what that means is we have a gauge that has an overall length of 23.5 inches, which is the same as our ports that we're matching up to, and we don't need an offset on either one. What's the overall length? And they're talking about the gauge that we're going to use. And it's 23.5 inches. What top valve is required? No offset. What bottom valve is required? No offset. And the no offset valves are valve 43, so I can write that in for both. For a connection dimension of 60 inches, answer the following questions. What is the overall length? So we'll just do this just like before. Now we know we've got 60 inches. And we know we can, because each offset's 1 3/4 inches, we can go in increments of no offset, 1 and 1.75 inches. 2 times that, 3.5 inches. So we can plus or minus 3.5 inches, we can plus or minus 1.75 inches. Alright, so we're looking for one that's 60 inches. If we had one that was 60, that would be good. If we could find one that 58.25, that would work. I just took 60 and subtracted 1.75 off it. 61.75 would work. So there would be an up offset on the top and a down offset on the top. So let's just see what we have. Let's jump in the table here and let's see what we got that's close. We want 60 overall, so I look down here and I see, you know, there's not one that's exactly 60. So we've got a couple choices. We've got 56.5. We've got 58 3/4, and we've got 67 7/8. Now, of these, we know right away that we can only go plus or minus 3.5 inches. So that one's out. Plus or minus, well, this 3.5 inches, well, that's within that range. We want 58.25, not 58 3/4. So 56.5, if we took 60 minus 3.5, That equals 56.5. So that's the one. So how are we going to configure that to make that work? So here are our ports that are 60 inches apart, and here comes the gauge, and the gauge is 56.5 inches long. So we're going to have to come over and down, and then we're going to have to come over and up. If I look at my valves here, this is a valve 45, offset downward, and here I have to offset upward, so number 44. So I think that should be enough to answer our question. So what's the overall length? 56.5. What top valve is required? And it is number 45. What bottom valve is required? Number 44. There's some other answers in here because it was somewhat... All right, let's look at the last one. For a connection dimension of 50 inches, answer the following questions. What's the overall length? So now we've got 50 inches connection length. And I go over to the table and I look down here, and there's none that are exactly 50 inches. Now I right away see there's one that's 53.5 inches. So let's draw what that looks like. So I got an offset downward on the bottom and an offset upward on the top, and that makes this 53.5, which is this guy right here. So that'll work. Offset upward, that's a number 44. Offset downward, that's a number 45. And there's the answers. Okay, that's it for 13-1.